This is the story of how a small indie horror game developed into a spectacular franchise that truly enticed players to substantially expand upon FNAF. Fan games, books, and even movies were made that explored the lore hidden inside these games. There was exponential popularity that ensued following the creation of these games. YouTubers created videos that gained millions of views, and a whole community developed that still exists today. It all started with a man named Scott Cawthon. Originally, he had been working on a game called Chipper and Sons that was deemed family-friendly, but unfortunately had minimal success, and was condemned by critics because the characters looked too creepy. Ironically, he used this criticism to create a game that was creepy. His career took off when he introduced a unique-sounding game name in 2014, Five Nights at Freddy's. This was unlike any other game. It was such a simple game mechanics, yet there was so much in it that truly made it a terrifying experience. The creepy ambience, along with the main perpetrators being animatronics, was different. But what truly made FNAF unique, it wasn't just because it was scary with animatronics trying to jump scare you. It was the anticipation of the jump scares which made it twice as stressful. The idea of being helpless, not being able to move in most games, and only being able to beat it with a bit of skill and a handful of RNG. You weren't going to be able to beat it within the first few tries. You were inevitably going to get jump scared. The randomness factor in the games is what created suspense. Scott intentionally offset the intervals of the animatronics in the first game to make the game appear more spontaneous. Additionally, once the lore of the game was unfolded by players, it added another layer of mystery and a puzzle to be solved. What made it interesting for players is that the lore was not concrete in many aspects, and arguably is still evolving today. Many differing interpretations of the game's timeline are prominent across the opinions of players. The recently released movies, although critiqued severely by many, brought a spike of popularity back to FNAF. While that spike has diminished over the last few months, it's proof that a resurgence of this popularity is possible and probable to happen again. An important note to make is the fact that there are thousands and thousands of fan games, meaning looking at how many people are playing the original FNAF gives a flawed view of how unpopular the game is suggested to be. Nowadays, people have nearly gone past the limits of human capability regarding speed, precision, and focus. Originally, Scott thought that the possibility of even beating the first game max mode was not even possible. Today, it is considered to be one of the easiest max modes in FNAF. That shows how much the game has evolved in terms of skill. Over the course of many years, the main games have remained stagnant in terms of gameplay, typically not having too many controls you must worry about and usually are stationed in one room. This is another aspect of the game which makes it unique. There is no free roam, for example, which would generally allow the player to feel as if they have some control over the game. Taking the first 7 games into consideration, yes, there have been slight game mechanic changes within each game, yet the goal of surviving until 6 AM remains the same. The goal of avoiding getting jump scared by the animatronics remained the same. This is why the game has been successful, because Scott facilitated the audience's desires and discussion. No major change to the games was needed. Now, although the keyboard torture of some fan games was prominent, the game mechanics for the most part still relied on unpredictability. I seriously think game theories drove the FNAF community to explore different avenues of the game. It was a great way to promote people to engage in the game, whether it be by buying a book or simply listening to MatPat explain a theory regarding lore that completely differed from the stories of the books. Simple discrepancies and misconceptions like the confusion of the Bite of 83 and the Bite of 87 promoted more exploration to dive deeper into the FNAF timeline. With the lore having more avenues, Scott used this to expand the story within the games, particularly with Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator, yet still leaving some room for interpretation by the audience. I think more cinematic development, series that maintain the lore of the story, and are intense thrillers would bring back a significant number of FNAF players or intrigue new ones. The movie was a little bit of a disappointment in my opinion, which could have been a turn-off for fans, but bringing back one that has elements that would make it much scarier would certainly be attractive. Originally, Scott had planned to make a game that would suffice financially for his wife and kids. Now, the budget has expanded to millions. This investment in games still being produced today is truly valuable for the continuation of this franchise. Scott was seriously in turmoil when getting rejected by the Chipper and Sons game he had proposed, causing him to go into depression. If it wasn't for his financial motivation, these games may have never been made.